Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're looking into the truly baffling disappearance of a Chicago teacher named Linda Brown. But this case, well, it's more than just a mystery. It's a story about how the search for a person can get tangled up in a search for the truth itself, especially in our crazy, noisy digital world.
Right from the jump, this entire case was built on a massive contradiction. I mean, it's a flaw in the basic data so fundamental, it makes you question every single thing that comes after it.
Okay, get this. On one hand, you have the official police bulletin, which lists Linda Brown as 5 feet tall. But on the other, you have all the media reports, sourcing a family flyer that describe her as 5'7". Now, that's not just a minor typo. We're talking about a 7-inch gap. For any potential eyewitness, that is a catastrophic failure in the data, right from day one.
So let's try to establish what we do know. Who exactly was Linda Brown? And what happened on that Saturday morning when she just vanished?
Well, the basic facts paint a pretty clear picture. Linda was 53 years old, a dedicated special education teacher. We know she was on a leave of absence for anxiety, which is why police flagged her as endangered. But here's the crucial part: the timing. She was actually scheduled to go back to work just 2 days after she disappeared.
Her husband, Antoine, really hammered this point home. Linda was a creature of habit. You could set your watch by her. As he said, she'd never missed her Saturday acupuncture appointment. So when she didn't show up for that, that was the first huge red flag that something was very, very wrong.
And the timeline, it starts out so normal. A Friday night, a movie at home. But then Saturday morning, she's gone. Her husband figures, okay, she's just off to her appointment, but she never comes back. By Sunday, the family files a report. By Monday, she's a no-show for her first day back at work. And then, on Wednesday, the first major break in the case finally comes. Her car has been found.
But see, finding Linda isn't just about a physical search. To even begin to understand what might have happened to her, you have to navigate this information maze. It's the flawed, fragmented system we all get our news from, in cases just like this one.
You can pretty much break this whole information ecosystem down into 4 tiers. At the bottom you have the bedrock, official police data. It's slow, but it's verifiable. Then you've got media interviews, which build the human story. After that, local news, adding neighborhood context. And then, way up at the top, you have the most volatile layer of all, social media, where speed almost always destroys accuracy.
So each one of these tiers gives us crucial signals, but they also introduce just a deafening amount of noise. A signal is a hard fact, right? Like the police releasing the car's license plate number. But the noise, that's the information vacuum that happens when police are slow to release details. And that void, it gets filled with speculation. Or even worse, it's social media blasting out a video of a search party for a totally different missing person, creating a really dangerous false lead.
Okay, so let's try to cut through all that noise and just focus on the hard evidence. The entire investigation really boils down to 2 pivotal and, honestly, deeply perplexing clues. The first clue was the single biggest development in the case. On January 7th, her car, a 2021 blue Honda Civic, was found. But it's the condition of the car that tells us so much. It was completely undamaged. Right away, that pretty much rules out a violent car crash. It strongly suggests that the driver, and we have to assume that was Linda, made a conscious choice to park the car right there. And as for where there is, well, both the police and her family have kept that location under wraps, which just adds another layer to this whole mystery. And then there's the second clue, which is somehow even stranger. 4 full days after she vanished, her husband reported that her cell phone was still on. When he called it, it would just ring.
Now, let's just stop and think about what that actually means. A phone that rings has power and it has a signal. So it hasn't been destroyed or tossed in a lake or left in a dead zone. It's an active electronic beacon that the police can triangulate. So the phone is findable, but Linda isn't. And that points to 2 really terrifying possibilities. Either she's been separated from her phone, or she's with her phone but is physically unable to answer it.
So where does all this evidence lead us? You've got the parked car, the ringing phone, and her known mental state. With all that, investigators were able to synthesize 10 plausible scenarios for what could have actually happened to her. Now, we can't possibly explore all 10 theories right now, but they all fall into 3 very distinct and compelling categories, and each one paints a vastly different picture of what might have been her final hours. So the first group of theories, it all centers on a personal crisis. Given her history with anxiety, and especially the stress of having to go back to work, it's possible she suffered some kind of psychological break, something like a dissociative fugue, where a person can just wander off with no memory of who they are. Or maybe she made a conscious choice to just walk away from her life, at least for a little while.
The second category, of course, is foul play. Investigators always have to look at the people closest to the victim. Her husband is the only person who can account for that initial timeline, and there's no footage of her actually leaving the house. So it's possible the car was staged to throw people off the trail, or maybe she was lured to a meeting that turned violent.
And that final group of theories, well, that covers some kind of random, unforeseen event. She could have parked her car perfectly fine and then had a sudden medical emergency, like a stroke, and collapsed somewhere just out of sight. Or, and this is maybe even more bizarre, she could have become accidentally trapped somewhere, in a locked basement, an abandoned building, unable to get out, while her phone just keeps on ringing right next to her.
So why does this one case matter so much? Because the search for Linda Brown is more than just a single, awful tragedy. It's a really powerful lesson about the nature of truth itself in our modern world.
It perfectly highlights what experts call the dual challenge. See, in any case like this today, you're not just doing a physical search for a person. You are, at the exact same time, doing a forensic search for the ground truth, for a single reliable fact, in this chaotic storm of digital noise and social media rumors.
Linda's phone might still be ringing, somewhere out there in the city, like a digital ghost in the machine. And it leaves all of us with one final, haunting question. In our frantic search for the missing, are we actually losing our grip on the truth itself?